In this video we will talk about new crowds based on the 99 Nights map in the forest or 99 Nights in the jungle for Roblox, and I think most of you know the tide. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are not subscribed. Let's get into the video. The events of the series begin with the person falling from a high place in the middle of the forest, as if he fell from a plane, for example, and the forest in which this person enters is called a forest. And the first time he enters the forest, he begins to break wood from the trees so that he can ignite fire, because fire is a very necessary and important thing in this forest, and elsewhere very bad things can happen. The significant point is that the person cuts down the trees, then hears a peculiar voice behind him and turns curiously toward the sound. He sees something moving very fast. Then the scene is interrupted, and in the next scene we see the person sitting at night in the middle of the forest with a fire. But unfortunately the world is raining, and of course the fire goes out, and this is the worst thing that can happen to this person in this forest, because after the fire goes out, this is what happens to him. The person is attacked by a strange being that resembles a deer, and we do not know what happened to him after that, but it is certain that this person did not match, because in the video that follows we see the person healthy the next day in the same place where the deer were attacked, and he notices that in front of him are 4 leaflets, not 4 missing people, and under every picture is written the same sentence: they are watching. Who are they watching? We will know after a while. The important thing is that after a while the night comes again, and the person takes a stone to light the fire, because as we knew a while ago, the night is very dangerous. Without fire, a person, after lighting a fire, sits in front of it and prepares a meal for himself. Suddenly he hears something moving around him. When the person turns in the direction of the sound, he does not find anything. We move to the next day and see the person walking around the forest, but he does not feel that time is passing and that the sun has begun to escape, and he has not yet lit a fire to protect him from the creatures that live in the forest. This makes him very afraid and runs along the tower in front of him before the sun sets and the creatures see him. Indeed, he succeeds in climbing the tower before he is attacked like the night before. And here, an electric lamp, so he takes it and goes out to check the situation outside the tower. Bella was lucky that the deer was waiting under the tower. Of course he is very afraid when he sees this view, but then he calms down when he knows that the deer will not be able to reach him as long as he is in this tower. But then he realizes that the deer is not the only danger that threatens the people who are present in the forest. This owl suddenly appears and the video ends, and we don't know what happened after that. Is this person dead or is he still alive? So far it's not clear, but we'll find out after a while what exactly this owl can do to the unlucky person who meets it. The next video begins with an advertisement about a forest, and the person in the advertisement talks about the beauty of the forest and the pleasure that the person will find when he visits this forest. This is because the forest has entertainment areas and games, and also the voice in the media makes it clear that the person who visits Willie Blaine's forest will find peace. But did anyone notice something strange in this scene? The deer is standing far away and watching. Is this what his sentence means? Are they watching or anything else? Is he the one watching? Will we know after a while? At the end of the media, he asks anyone who sees the advertisement to bring his family and come to his forest and lodge. But then the logo turns black, the music that was playing in the background disappears. Then we move to a person different from the person with whom we began the events, and we know that she is a girl lost in a forest and logged in. She has 6 days left in the forest and is trying to find any way to get out, but to no avail, because it is clear that there is no way to get out of the forest. Then the girl sees a wolf eating a rabbit and suddenly feels her presence and looks in her direction. But it is clear that he did not see her, and then she runs to the camp where there is a fire before the sun sets and night comes. The girl sits by the fire and goes out. A post about 3 missing people: Ether, Caleb and Lily, and we know that the last time these 3 people were seen was 3 years ago, which means that there are many people who disappeared in this forest other than the 4 for whom we saw posts a while ago, and the girl wonders what exactly happened to them. How did they disappear? Will her fate be the same as theirs? After a while the girl enters one of the buildings in the forest, and there she finds a mobile phone, so of course she uses it to call the police so that the police come to rescue her. Indeed, she calls the police and a policeman, and the girl answers her. She tells him that she is lost and does not know where she is. The shorts ask her if there is any distinctive sign around her. At that time, the girl tells him that she is in a forest, but she explains to him that the forest has become different, and he asks her how different the shorts are. The girl tells him that the forest has become too quiet. For some reason, the officer's voice changes after hearing this, as if he's nervous, and he responds to her and asks her to stay where she is and not move, and he will send the police to the place where she is. But the girl wonders how they will be able to know her whereabouts. And she doesn't even know where she is. But before the policeman answers her, the call suddenly stops. But it is not clear. The policeman was the one who ended the call, and no one was the one who hung up the line and ended the call. Did the cop really intend to send the police to where the girl is? Nor does the shorts abandon her, and Saba facing her fate so far? Not clear. The important thing is that the girl continues her path and searches for a way out of the forest and finds in front of her a mushroom-shaped building in the original map in the Roblox game. This is supposed to be a house where fairies live, but when the girl enters the building, she does not find any fairies, but she finds traces of this on the walls. This means that someone gets rid of them, and the girl concludes that she is not alone in the forest, but she knows that as long as she is in a place with light, there is nothing that can get close to her. After a long period of time, we know that the girl remained lost in the forest for a month until now, and she does not know why she's in the forest or the way out of it. Then she leads the girl to the cave, where one of the 4 children whose pictures we saw hanging in is supposed to be locked up. Unlike the game, the cave is open, and the wolves that were supposed to be at the cave were killed. Also, when you enter the place where the boy named Dino Kid is supposed to be, she does not find anyone, so she quickly leaves the cave and continues her path in the forest, and suddenly she finds in front of her this scene, a strange sect performing strange rituals, and suddenly the girl is afraid. If we focus a little, we will notice that the girl was afraid when she saw the deer suddenly appear in the middle of the sect, and it was the sect that summoned this deer. This may mean that they used the boy who was supposed to be in this room, who was Dino Kid, and they explained him and presented him as an offering to this deer. And this explains to the children what we saw in the game. They were imprisoned in these caves because the sect was the one who imprisoned them to offer them as sacrifices to this deer. The main concern is that after 4 long months, the girl remains lost in the forest. The fire defending her against creatures is waning, while her food supplies run dangerously low. Apparently, the girl began to lose hope of surviving and getting out of the forest. A few days later, we see the girl walking around the forest at night and being shocked when she sees a body hanging in front of her in the play area in the forest. It is not clear whether this was the animal part or a person, but in both cases the issue was definitely scary for her. And that is why the girl, when she sees this scene, runs to her camp. But she is constantly hearing terrifying sounds around her, which makes her feel more terrified and lose more hope that she may come out of the forest one day. And that is why she decides to end her suffering by herself. But at the end of the video, we see a report that says the experiment is 047, the name is Gina, the condition is dead. The delegation was registered on day 127 at 2:23 a.m. We understand from this that what happens in the forest is not just strange entities attacking humans lost in the forest and the strange sect that sacrifices children in their strange rituals. In experiments conducted on humans, meaning that the people who were lost in the forest were placed in this forest on purpose, and everything that happened to them was part of the experiment. And the name of the case, i.e. 047, indicates that Gina was experiment number 47, and this means that there are dozens of people who were placed inside the forest to face their fate. Inevitable in these strange experiments. If you played 99 Nights, you may have seen that there is actually a laboratory in Al-Mabdi, but until now it is still not clear who is doing these experiments. Why are these experiments being carried out in the first place, and what is their purpose? But let us fear that in the next video we may find an answer to these questions. A simple break. If you get here and you like the video, don't forget to like it, because this helps me a lot. Of course, subscribe if you are not subscribed so that you do not miss any new video here on the channel. Let's continue. Tape number 4 is a video, advice for visitors to the forest, and we see this logo. And this is the same logo that you will see in the laboratory in the game. And this means that the person who made this tape is the one responsible for the experiments that take place in this forest. At the beginning, the video advises the things that a person is supposed to take with him when he is going to a forest, and they bring things like a flashlight, sulfur, food and water, of course, normal things that anyone may need for camping. Then the video warns of dangerous creatures that you may encounter in the forest, such as bears, wolves, and wolves. The tape warns of them because they are predators and dangerous to humans. But then he starts guessing from the deer. This is because the deer disappeared and Logan is not an ordinary deer. The tape warns that if you see a deer standing on its feet and looking in your direction for a long time, you should never approach it, especially if his size is very large and his mouth movements do not match his voice, and you must move away from him quietly. The video shows that these deer are afraid of light. That's why the video advises you to have a scout with you to protect you from the deer. The video cuts off and we see a scene of two people sitting in the forest, and it is clear that they are trying to hide from something that is chasing them. Then the thing that haunts them appears. Then the advice video comes back again. This time he talks to us about the strange sect that exists in a forest. The video makes it clear that this sect is not affiliated with the institution responsible for the experiments that take place in the forest of Willowplain. The tape makes it clear that anyone in Willowplain Forest can spot members of the cult. They are standing in the forest in a circle and prefer this situation for a long time. He warns that if you hear them saying strange things, try not to listen to what they say. But if you notice that they are starting to smile at you, you should leave the place and walk immediately. But if they start to expel you, don't ever run and go anywhere in the light, because they don't like light either, exactly like deer. Okay, do we understand from this that there is an institution that conducts experiments in this area and forest? We also have deer, which look strange and clearly feed on humans. Finally, we have a strange sect wearing masks that resemble the face of a deer. This means that this sect is affiliated with this strange deer. Then the video cuts off and we see a scene of the same two people who were trying to hide from the deer a while ago. It is clear that the two people are committed to all the instructions that the advice tape said. But suddenly something unexpected happens. Something was mentioned in a video. The owl appears and it turns out to be an exaggerated giant. And get rid of the first person. We note that unlike deer, she is not afraid of light. Then the video ends. Video number 5 begins with an educational program for children that is supposed to teach them some information about a forest. And we see two forest rangers teaching children how to explore the forest safely. But the forest ranger says a strange sentence saying that his job is to never allow any child to get lost in the forest again. This means that there was already a child in this forest before, and he was unable to help him. His words meant that he felt guilty and that there was a child weak in the forest and he was unable to save him, and this makes us think that this guard is the same policeman. The girl tried to ask him for help a while ago, but he was unable to help her because the line was cut off before she knew exactly where she was. The important thing is that the second guard is trying to change the subject so that they don't scare the children. But suddenly then the guard talks to us about the owl and says that the owl will look for you. But if I squeeze you, don't move, because if you move she will see you. Thus we knew that owls only see objects that move. But for a moment these words don't make you think of anything. The important thing is that we move to a scene. We see a person in a small hut in the middle of the forest, and suddenly he hears a voice outside the hut. When he opens the door to check on the situation outside, he does not find anything. But when he turns around he finds the owl, and at that time a text appears on the screen saying the owl pressed on him. Then we return to the forest guards, and the first time they hear the owl's sound they freeze in place without any movement. This is because the owl doesn't see them. Does the video end like this? The final video begins with an article saying that in 1989, the alien cult's location was found deep in the forest. There were found the remains of burned animals, some strange symbols and traces of a burning fire. However, none of the members of the community were arrested. Then we move on to 13/3/2001. We see a couple riding in the car, and we know from their words that they are heading to Willowplain Forest to explore it. But it is also clear that they are afraid because there are many rumors. Willowplain is a very dangerous place, but this does not prevent them from reaching the forest and exploring it. When they arrive, they find a collection of leaflets for missing persons. They notice that some of these publications were old and some were new. This means that there are people who have been hiding in this forest for a long time. There are still new people disappearing until now in this forest. The important thing is that at first they hesitate to enter the forest, but in the end they enter and begin to explore it. And inside the forest they find things that their owners clearly left in this place. Or maybe these things belong to missing persons, but something happens after that that makes the couple stop exploring and escape from the forest. Suddenly the girl starts screaming. When the person with her goes to see the reason for her screaming, he sees this view. He sees someone like him and learned. They decide to get out of this forest immediately before facing the same fate, but they find the forest gate locked. Before they understand what is happening, the sect comes and kidnaps them. What the hell? And then the scene cuts off. Then we see the person tied up and lying on the ground. As for his wife, or the girl who was with him, she will be attached and will be burned alive in front of her husband, who has nothing in his hand except that he sees her burning in front of him and waits for his turn after that. At that time, we see the deer coming out of the middle of the forest to receive the new offerings. And the series ends like this. Now let's talk about some theories that can explain what we saw in the theoretical forest. The first says that the institution and organization whose logo we saw once was conducting experiments on animals in the forest for some possible reason in order to make animals live longer or to make animals that are easy to inherit, such as deer, stronger or smarter. Therefore, it remains difficult to steal them, so they also don't get extinct quickly from Willow Glen. But these experiments got out of control and caused the forest animals to undergo dangerous mutations that turned them into monsters. They got out of control in the forest, it turned into a dangerous place. But some humans began to sanctify these mutant deer and began to offer them human sacrifices as food. For this reason, they used to kidnap people who approached the forest in order to present them to the transformed deer as a sacrifice. At the same time, the organization that was responsible for the transformation of forest animals began to try to study the organisms that caused this transformation. And the only way for them to study these creatures is for them to let humans visit a forest, log in and get lost in it. At the moment when a person gets lost in the forest, you start watching him so they can study how these mutant jungle creatures behave with humans. How does the sect offer them as offerings? Why do they even offer sacrifices to this deer? How can humans survive or escape death at the hands of these beings? For this reason, the organization used to send humans to Willow Glen Forest, and this is to monitor them and study what was happening in the forest. I mean, in short, this organization is trying to study mutant forest creatures and alien sects, but this is by sacrificing some humans with the aim of collecting information about forest creatures and alien sects. I mean, most of the people we saw in the forest were thrown into the forest by the organization to face their fate, but they were watching them to collect information and learn more about these creatures. That's why we saw them recording data about Gina and when exactly. This is evidence that the person who enters the organized forest is actually being monitored, as evidence that they know exactly the time he died. The second theory says that the experiments that this institution was doing were not only on animals, but they were also doing experiments on humans. The same experiments that transformed animals into a dangerous entity, and this made humans also transform into different creatures, and these creatures are the sect that we saw in the forest. The evidence for this is that there is a person who described the alien sect and said that they are not humans, but something completely different, something that is not human, meaning that the reason that turned these animals into alien creatures is also turned into humans into strange creatures, and they are the ones who became the sect that kidnaps humans in order to present them as offerings to the deer. Thus, we are talking about the Analog Horror series based on the Roblox game, specifically